Hi, I'm Kimberly. When we started Community Cultures, we wanted to shine a light on all the little pockets of fellowship that form within our city, groups that support and celebrate each other. As we continue to move through the COVID-19 pandemic, we continue to pivot our themes as well. Today, we will meet Officer Kristopher Elliott from the Halton Regional Police Services. Officer Elliott heads a weekly situation table, a group that is working together to help our most vulnerable community members, assisting with mental health, housing, addiction, and much more. Welcome, Constable Chris. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with the Halton Regional Police Services?
Well, thanks, Kim, for having me. I always jump at a time where I can speak of such an important topic. But I've been with Halton Police for the last 7 years. I actually came from the RCMP prior to that. Burlington resident and transferred over to Halton Police as an experienced officer in 2013. So I work currently in the Regional Community Mobilization Bureau, and I'm the Community Safety and Wellbeing Officer.
Safety and well-being is so important. It's one of those things that Halton sort of touts itself on and speaks of often. And I know the police service as well speaks often to how important community safety and well-being is. And now more than ever, as we're moving through COVID-19 and the pandemic, that has just been amplified. Talk to me a little bit about this really interesting table that the service has going on a weekly basis.
Yes, so I facilitate the situation table Halton. It is kind of the base level of community safety well-being. It's where it all happens. It's at the ground level, and it's a community table that has been around since 2013. It was established in 2013, and we actually started it up in the north end of Halton first to pilot the program. And it started up in Milton, and it moved to the full region in 2015. And it is a table that sits weekly with approximately 30 community partners that we've reached out to really grasp kind of a fulsome amount of resources from all over Halton. And currently we're meeting virtually with regards to the pandemic, and we meet every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And this table comes together to discuss the most vulnerable residents that have been identified within these organizations that require immediate assistance or help. And if we don't act as a community and wrap around services as a whole, these folks, these families, these areas of town may become more vulnerable and require an emergency response. And we want to avoid that. We want to wrap around the right service to these folks at the right time.
This is a wholesome, sort of holistic approach to safety and well-being. Talk to me a little bit about the type of folks that sit at the table with you. What other organizations are there together?
Yeah, so we have approximately 30 from, like I mentioned, from all areas of kind of the community social services field. So we have partners, for instance, like probation and parole. We have the school boards. We have Children's Aid Society. We have ADAPT for addictions. We have Halton Region, which covers many of our social services like housing issues and homelessness. We have obviously the Halton Police sit in different avenues of the table as well. For instance, our domestic violence unit. We work closely, we have partnership with Savis, and Halton Women's Place is another partner that we work with. So we've tried to cover every single area to which somebody may be experiencing a crisis and push it forward that we have representation from their group.
We've seen in the news more so now, again, than ever before, those mental health sort of situations. And we've seen a lot just even recently with mental health and with some barricade type issues and those type of things happening in our community. This table certainly sounds like a place where people can come together and work through those. What sort of examples are you seeing on a regular basis? What types of things are you talking about when it comes to housing and mental health?
Yeah, so in 2020, we had 72 discussions come forward from the community, and these are the most vulnerable residents in Halton. So, and 64 of those were brought forward and met the acutely elevated risk definition. So once somebody meets that definition, we can then speak freely in an intervention team. So no information is disclosed until the group of us, there's a quorum actually taken to ensure that everyone is in agreement that this person requires our assistance. And so just right off the bat, we have seen quite an increase in 2020 from 2019, from when the pandemic hit. And we, of course, are up for the challenge, and we've responded. And like I said, out of the 64 people, so about 89% of those situations that did come forward, we responded to. And I think the stat that stands out the most is that 88% of all of the people that we had influence in or on accepted our help. So we're seeing that the approach that we're using is accepted, it is respectful, and it meets the standard to the community as well as the people that we're trying to help.
Are there other communities outside of Halton that have these type of tables? Are we a leader in this aspect? Where do we sit sort of across Ontario in respects to these situation tables?
So Halton, obviously, we strive to be a leader in everything that we do. It's something that has come right from the top down to our office. Obviously, we want to stand out, and in the field of community safety well-being, we are looked at as a leader, all the way from the Solicitor General's office to other communities. But as for situation tables, yes, it's a very common thing now in communities. I believe we're up around 50 to 55 within the province as a community of practice. And we are supported with a database from the Solicitor General's office. So it is mandated by the government of Ontario to have a table, but it definitely is supported. And why wouldn't you? It's something that the community requires. It's a holistic approach to social service issues. And it really allows us to work as a community instead of as individuals on a situation.
So when I approached you to have this discussion, Chris, I wanted to talk specifically about mental health and mental health sort of crisis. And folks often say, we're in a health pandemic, we have COVID-19 pandemic, but more so than that, we're seeing a mental health pandemic. And that's not something that's going to shift anytime soon. I was reading some statistics from the Halton Regional Police Service that over 3,000 calls were received in 2019 that were sort of categorized as mental health calls. And from that, there were 762 suicide-related calls. So clearly our community requires these supports and requires more community support in that. How do you think the community, the situation table, is adding and helping to these people that are making these calls?
So Halton Police has always been very proactive in the field of mental health. I've worked on numerous mental health teams that we do have here, including our crisis outreach and support team and our mobile crisis rapid response team. And progressive in the way of that we always move the needle forward into what our community requires in the field of mental health. We as police, we take extensive training. We have crisis intervention training here in Halton to assist those that go into crisis. The situation table is, a combination of people that want to avoid further emergency services use. So if we can get the service, if somebody is in crisis or has had a crisis, if we can wrap around services to avoid police being the source to assist this person solely, we've done our task. If we can wrap around services and we can get the family supported and we can find out what the root cause of that crisis is as a collaborative, it avoids those numbers from going up and people actually entering crisis. So the long and short of it is that working together, collaboratively, everyone taking a piece of the puzzle and helping these folks in the long run will help the community of Halton as a whole.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned sort of that collaborative approach and the working together, because there is a lot of discussion in local media and in communities in regards to policing and working in mental health. And you mentioned it, but I'd love for you to just expand on it, because I think this is so important for our community to know. Our officers are mandated and trained in outreach for mental health. And that is part of what Halton Regional Police has sort of taken on. So have all of our officers at this point moved through this training? I believe that it's at least begun. Can you talk a little bit more about that mental health training and how important it is to your daily services and tasks as an officer?
Yeah, so in 2018, the mandate from our chain of command came through that we would be one of the first police services in all of Ontario to commit to training all of our frontline officers and frontline staff. So we're talking communicators and the civilian staff that work at our front desks and work with the public in crisis intervention training. So we rolled out a 40-hour program in partnership with the Community Mental Health Association Halton and St. Joseph's Healthcare in Hamilton. It's a 40-hour, 4-day course. And this course is outstanding. It provides, and the key thing about when we formulated this course is we wanted mental health professionals teaching police on how to deal with mental health issues. And that's what we have. We have outstanding curriculum that's comprised of over 15 partners that come in from the community and provide all different insights from lived experience to de-escalation and crisis intervention techniques, and just identifying what programs and services are available in the community so we can refer them as police. It's an extremely important endeavor, and we're continuing it even through this COVID time to ensure that our officers have every tool possible to help those in crisis.
As a Halton resident, I have to say I'm extremely proud of this program and the work that our service is doing on community safety and well-being, because it is so important, and we definitely see the results when you're being proactive about your community's mental health. From a housing perspective, you just briefly touched on it as that wraparound service. And I think sometimes people get housing and lack of housing affordable, that type of thing, a little bit confused. Can you just briefly touch on what housing means from the situation table's perspective and how you're helping people in our community?
Sure. So what we've seen is, especially through the COVID period, that housing or housing insecurity is definitely a concern within Halton. We've seen more people experiencing, a sudden stop of income, and those become overwhelming, and then it's just kind of the trickle effect. So we're very fortunate here in Halton region to have worked collaboratively with Halton Housing and Halton Housing Services and Community Social Services to come up with a great process and a referral process that we can ensure that everybody has a roof over their head during the pandemic. So we have seen an increase in cases come to the situation table. I think about 7 to 10% of the cases had a housing risk factor this year, or in 2020, which made it the number 3, the third most common risk factor that we saw come across in those 76 cases that I mentioned earlier. So we are adapting to it. It's very important. If we were to sit down, if somebody doesn't have a stable place to live, it does trickle, it does affect everything else in their life. And we are working really hard with our community partners to ensure stability and to have a referral process to be able to deal with the increase, and is definitely up for the task. So we're working on it, and it's something that is on our radar, and our community supports and our collaborative is on it.
Chris, I would imagine a hope for the future would be that situation tables don't have to exist because we don't have these type of problems, but we know that that's not the case, and we know we're just sort of beginning to see the power of the situation table. What is your hope for this table and the community moving forward as we work together collaboratively to help those in need?
So we're just at the place right now where our table is really flowing. We have some great partnerships and relationships that are built. And my hope is that this continues, because when we work together, there's so many examples. I could probably talk for the entire show about the examples and the success stories that we've made impacts on individuals and families, with really them, unaware of how much work on the sidelines goes to ensuring the community safety and well-being of Halton. And that's what we want. We want this continued. We want to work forward. We want a collaborative that there's no barriers, but is holistic, respects confidentiality and the wishes of those in crisis.
Thank you for joining me today, Officer Elliott. As we know, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we will, together with the Halton Regional Police Services, our community, and the wraparound services, make it through this pandemic if we all work together. Thank you.